Well, the biggest news globally right now, the Russian-Ukraine conflict and crisis. At this point of time, I'm joined by the Ukrainian ambassador to Malaysia, His Excellency Olexander Nechytaylo. Your Excellency, welcome. Thank you for being with us on the brief at such short notice as well. At this point of time, do tell us a little bit about some of the latest development and what the Ukrainian people here in Malaysia are thinking and feeling.
Thank you, Jessie. It's been the 8 days since the war began. It's actually not a crisis, I would say. I would correct that this is the all war. Ukrainian people, led by the President Zelensky, display extraordinary bravery in defending their homeland. Our armed forces successfully engaged the enemy, advancing from the north, from the south, and from the east. And basically all our major cities, Dnipro, Kharkiv, Odessa, Mariupol, and capital remained under our control. Generally, for you to understand how people in Ukraine feel about that, they feel that they've been attacked, unfairly attacked, unprovokedly attacked by somebody who's been there living side by side with us for centuries. And they feel betrayed, they feel angry because somebody entered their home now, somebody who is supposed to be a good neighbor. So the sense is that it's becoming a people's war. It's not just the armed forces that are fighting the enemy. People, old and young, women. For many people, it becomes very personal. Because if you see the footage from Ukraine, it's terrifying. Residential homes being attacked, kindergartens being attacked. As of now, more than 500 civilians been killed during the indiscriminate shelling, including more than 20 kids. Imagine who would do that. Most worrying reports today in the morning, when I woke up, I got the news that the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, Zaporizhzhia power plant, with 6 nuclear reactors, being shelled at by the Russian tanks. And when the fire broke up as a result of the shelling, they did not let the fire and rescue department to come to extinguish the fire and to check the radiation level. So, of course, it makes us all very worried because we believe this is no longer a local war. The implication of this war will be felt all over the world. The tremors will be felt in the economic, in the trade, even in the security, which is probably most dangerous, in the world security. The world will no longer be the same.
Right, Your Excellency, I'm going to jump in here right now. We've got word from the Europe Director of the World Health Organization's Hans Kluh. He had this to say. Let's take a listen.
Well, the people are, of course, mentally devastated. It are mainly what we saw, grandmothers or mothers with children, as the men are behind. But as I spoke with the president of the region here, we foresee a change in profile of refugees. If the military conflict escalates, it means that we're going to see more and more very, very vulnerable people only coming with clothes on their body, because now we still see people who have kind of pre-arrangements to see their family or friends in Poland and to be housed there. If the military conflict escalates, we're going to see many, many more really vulnerable people who are running away, who will need a lot of support.
Your Excellency, 1 million people have now fled their homes in Ukraine. Many are heading to Poland and to other neighboring countries as well. This has, of course, created a next wave of refugees, this time involving your people. Your Excellency, how are the Ukrainian people reading into this?
It's been a very stressful time. The war actually began in 2014, and because of the illegal annexation of Crimea, we already had more than 1 million internally displaced persons in Ukraine. It's those Ukrainian citizens who lived in Crimea, but because of the occupation, they had to move into the mainland. What we are witnessing now is entirely different level. It's the disaster, it's humanitarian catastrophe, I would say, of a global level. You rightly mentioned that many hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians, mostly women and children, are fleeing the fighting. They are crossing into the border with Poland and then move on into some other countries of European Union. And I would like to express also my gratitude to the European Commission, to the countries of European Union for embracing the refugees with such sincerity, with such warmth. It's very important to us, and Ukrainians will never forget that. But we also believe that it's a temporary thing, because what we are seeing now, that quite a number of Ukrainians, according to my data, it's almost 100,000 Ukrainians, mostly men, who lived and worked abroad. They came back to Ukraine to defend their homeland. So you see, it's a very personal to many of us. Even in my embassy, some of the family members that are back in Ukraine, they enrolled into territorial defense units because they want to defend their homes. It's very personal now.
Your Excellency, what is your message to the government of Malaysia and the Malaysian people?
I want to express also my gratitude to Malaysians. The number of support we received, both moral and even financial, is overwhelming. We opened an account under the embassy here to receive the charitable donations to help the humanitarian relief efforts. And I would like to thank everyone who contributed one way or another. It's been amazing. It's less than 3 days since we opened an account, but the amount of the funds that we collected is amazing. I can assure that all this money will go to Ukraine to help those in need. I thank you, Malaysians. I know they are very compassionate. They are very people who sympathize with those who are suffering. And Ukraine now is in suffering because of this unjust war inflicted on us. So I want to thank you very much, every Malaysian who contributed, every Malaysian who said that they feel for Ukraine, that they sympathize with us. And of course, government of Malaysia for supporting the United Nations General Assembly resolution in New York the other day. It's very important to us. We feel it, and we believe that what's even important now, that Malaysian and Malaysian businesses realign with the rest of the world, and they will not work with the aggressors.
Your Excellency, on behalf of all of us here at The Brief and Bernama, our hearts go out to you, to Ukrainians stuck in Malaysia whose family are back home, and to the Ukrainian people as well. Thank you for joining us. That was the Ukrainian ambassador to Malaysia, Olexander Nechytaylo.